I love it when you get a random email. This is why relationships are so important. So on Tuesday, it's Thursday now, on Tuesday I got an email from one of the casting producers from WF House asking me if I would be happy for them to put me forward for an audiobook. I've never worked with them before, but I have worked with one of their other producers. If I would be happy for them to put me forward for a book, could I record a short sample for them to send to the author for approval? I got that done on Tuesday, got it sent off. She emailed me back yesterday to say, thank you for the quick reply, I'll get this sent for approval. And today, it's now the Thursday, she's just emailed me back saying, just heard back on this and the author would be delighted to have you narrate, congratulations. We've had to make a slight change to the deadline, but that's all cool. But yes, random email out of the blue. This is what it's all about. This is what you're building for. When you first start out, it feels like you're not going anywhere. You feel a bit stuck, like you struggle, like you don't know how you're going to get in and get the books. But this is how it works, is the relationships you build, and it's so important. And this relationship actually started from the first narrators audiobook narration UK conference. It was the first one last year in 2025, and I have just signed up for the 2026 to go to that one in October, and I'm really looking forward to it. But I actually met a couple of casting producers actually, from WF House at the original conference, and it's led to this. So yes, and it's not about networking and building relationships is difficult and scary because people put way too much pressure on it. I have had to stop myself and just think, I don't want to work with acquaintances. If I meet someone and potentially want to work with them, I want to like them. I want to think of them as like, yeah, we had a nice chat. It was a very warm, welcoming, friendly. Don't go in business minded, like, what can you do for me? Approach networking as a kind of, this is what I bring to the table. How can I help you? Or even just like, hi, it's really nice to meet you. I work in this area of the industry. Where do you work? Just go in to make friends. I think that's what people lose sight of when they're panicking about networking. It's effectively like the primary school playground. You're just trying to meet people. You're just trying to make friends. And I think that makes a massive difference. It does for me anyway when I'm networking. If I start putting too much pressure on it and call it networking, then I start to panic. Whereas if I go in and think, oh, wow, like all of these people in this room are super interesting, they're like excellent at what they do, I want to chat to each and every one of them, which is what happened at the last one. There were 50 people in a room and I could have chatted to any one of them for an entire day. Yeah. Communication, that's what it's all about. So the whole point of prepping a script is to be able to give a depth and nuance to the characters and to the story. We're effectively reading the script to retrieve the information that we need to be able to give the characters a performance that they deserve, effectively. So in the same way the author knows what's going to happen, or maybe doesn't, they'll know by the end, and then they go back through and edit whilst knowing what's going to happen, and can therefore foreshadow and drop in hints and things about where the story's going to go. We as narrators also need to know this information. So we can do effectively the same thing with the performance. So if someone's hiding a secret, we need to be able to convey that they're maybe not being as truthful as they could be with our performance of any of their dialogue. But at the same time, it needs to walk a fine line. We don't want to give anything away, so we also don't want to place too much emphasis on something that needs to be hidden until a certain point in the story. So the first things we're looking for are the basics. Character. Do they have accents? Where are they from? Did they grow up somewhere else? Have they got a mixture of accents? Also, attitude. Are they confident? Are they bold? How do they hold themselves? Or are they a bit more reserved and shy? Do they start off really confident and then immediately start to second guess themselves? Things like that. I love building the characters in my head. I think it really helps with character voice work as well. If I have a strong idea of who they are, then I can switch into that character really quickly. Whereas if I have more of a weaker sense of that character, I find it quite difficult to go back into their voice. This is also where you can cast the character in your mind. Like, are they like someone you know, a family member, a friend, or even an actor? And that can help a lot with continuity, especially across series. Other things I am looking for are plot points. Not so much for what's happening in the story, more the emotional arcs of the story. How are your characters developing? How is the story developing? Will I be better off recording 2 chapters together if we're in the middle of a tense scene? I'm not going to want to stop halfway through that scene and then come back to it the next day. It's going to be better performance-wise for the listener and easier for me as well if I just do it all in one go. Some people like to mark their script up, so you could highlight people's dialogue. You could put in marks where you're going to take a breath if it's a particularly long sentence. But it's really whatever works for you. Personally, I find that quite distracting, so I like to have a completely clear script. Yeah, I don't like any... I would prefer to go back and record a line if I've got the wrong character, rather than being distracted the entire way through. I find my eye drawn to the markings that I've made rather than just being present with the story, and for me that's the more important thing. So for me personally, chapter by chapter, I am making a character list, who is going to be in that chapter, and just to mentally prepare like which voices I'm going to need to switch into. And I want a bullet point breakdown of what's going to happen in that chapter, just to jog my memory. If it's going to be a heavily loaded emotional chapter, then I might listen to some music before I start recording, just to get me into the right mindset, really. If there's something I know I'm going to struggle with to get into, I know some people will dress a particular way in order to get into the character. That might help you. The important thing to remember is that it's whatever works for you, whatever helps you. You are prepping to help you narrate the story the best that you can, and to bring it to life the best way that you do. And at the end of the day, if something isn't going to help you, don't do it. If something weird and wacky is going to help you, then go for it. More power to you. It's whatever helps you.